In this gripping tale, we dive into the life of Daniel, the talented lead guitarist of the rising band Starhawk. Just as he's preparing for what should be the happiest day of his life, his wedding to Sophia, the woman he believed was his soulmate, Daniel discovers a devastating betrayal. Uncovering Sophia's affair with a famous drummer throws his world into chaos. Join us as we explore the emotional rollercoaster of love, betrayal, and the quest for redemption in Betrayed Love, the heartbreaking journey of a cheating wife and a musician's redemption. Get ready to experience a story that will keep you on the edge of your seat, filled with raw emotion and unexpected twists. Daniel had always imagined his wedding day to be one of the happiest moments of his life. As the lead guitarist of the rising band Starhawk, he had seen his fair share of excitement and success. But nothing compared to the thrill he felt when he got down on one knee and proposed to Sophia, the woman he believed was his soulmate. They had met 3 years ago at a charity event in Austin, Texas. Daniel was performing with his band, and Sophia was one of the event organizers. With her captivating green eyes and warm smile, she had immediately caught his attention. They bonded over their shared love for music and their mutual desire to make a difference in the world. It wasn't long before they started dating, and Daniel knew he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her. Sophia was everything he had ever wanted in a partner: intelligent, kind-hearted, and incredibly supportive of his career. She was always there at his gigs, cheering him on from the front row. So, when Daniel decided to propose, he made sure it was a moment she would never forget. He arranged for a private concert just for the two of them, playing her favorite song under the starlit sky. When she said yes, he felt like the luckiest man alive. With the wedding date set for 6 months away, they plunged into the planning process. Every detail was meticulously chosen to reflect their personalities and love story. The venue was a beautiful vineyard just outside Austin, where they had spent many weekends enjoying wine tastings and romantic picnics. The guest list included their closest friends and family, along with a few industry colleagues who had supported Daniel's musical journey. As the big day approached, Daniel couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and nervousness. He wanted everything to be perfect for Sophia. She had been his rock through the ups and downs of his career, and he was determined to make their wedding day the celebration of a lifetime. One of the highlights leading up to their wedding was a large charity event in Austin. It was an annual fundraiser for a local children's hospital, an event that had always held a special place in their hearts. Daniel had agreed to perform with Starhawk, while Sophia was once again involved in organizing the event. This year, they were especially excited because Alex Gray, the famous drummer of the legendary band Ravaged Crew, was also scheduled to perform. The evening of the charity event was buzzing with energy. The venue was packed with donors, celebrities, and music enthusiasts, all gathered for a good cause. As Daniel and his bandmates prepared backstage, he couldn't help but notice the electric atmosphere. It felt like a perfect night for a great performance. Daniel glanced at his watch. It was almost time for their set, but Sophia was nowhere to be seen. She had told him she would be busy coordinating with the event staff, but he still expected her to pop in to wish him luck. Pushing aside his concern, he focused on the music. Starhawk took the stage and delivered an unforgettable performance, the crowd roaring with approval at every note. As they wrapped up their set, Daniel scanned the audience, hoping to catch a glimpse of Sophia. She was still absent. His bandmates, Tom the manager, and the rest of the crew were all there, but Sophia's absence left him with an uneasy feeling. After their set, Daniel joined Tom backstage. "Have you seen Sophia?" he asked, trying to keep his voice casual. Tom shook his head. "Not since this afternoon. She's been running around all day." Daniel nodded, but his mind was already racing. He tried to push away the unsettling thoughts and decided to look for her. He wandered through the crowded venue, greeting friends and acquaintances, but there was no sign of Sophia. Finally, he found her near the refreshment area, talking to a group of guests. Her makeup was flawless, as always, but her hair looked slightly disheveled. She was flushed and seemed a bit out of breath. Daniel's heart sank. Something was off. "Sophia," he called out, walking toward her. She turned, a forced smile on her face. "Daniel, you were amazing up there," she said, giving him a quick kiss on the cheek. "Thanks. I missed you during the performance," he replied, trying to gauge her reaction. "I'm sorry, I got caught up with some last-minute arrangements." "You know how it is," she said, avoiding his gaze. Daniel nodded, but the unease didn't leave him. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. As they packed up their equipment, he kept glancing at Sophia, trying to read her expression. She seemed distant, preoccupied. Later that night, the band and their friends gathered at a local bar to celebrate the successful performance. The State Street Bar and Grill was a familiar spot, where they often unwound after gigs. The crowd was thinner than usual, with many regulars still at the charity event, but the atmosphere was still lively. As Daniel nursed a glass of bourbon, he replayed the evening's events in his mind. Sophia's odd behavior gnawed at him. He decided to confront her once they got home. He needed to know what was going on. Back at their apartment, Daniel finally broached the subject. "Sophia, is everything okay? You seemed off tonight." Sophia sighed, her shoulders slumping. "I'm just stressed, Daniel. There's so much to do for the wedding and the charity event. I'm sorry if I seemed distant." Daniel wanted to believe her, but something in her tone didn't sit right. He decided to let it go for the moment, hoping that he was just overthinking things. They went to bed, but sleep didn't come easily for him. The following days were a blur of wedding preparations and band rehearsals. Daniel tried to focus on the positive, but the nagging suspicion about Sophia's behavior at the charity event lingered. He started paying more attention to her actions, looking for any signs that might confirm his fears. One evening, while they were going over the guest list, Daniel noticed Sophia's phone buzzing constantly. She seemed unusually protective of it, quickly glancing at the screen and then putting it face down on the table. His curiosity piqued. Daniel decided to check her phone later that night when she was asleep. Around midnight, he carefully picked up her phone and unlocked it. He felt a pang of guilt but pressed on. As he scrolled through her messages, his heart pounded. There were several texts from an unknown number, messages that were too friendly, too personal. One, in particular, caught his eye. "Last night was amazing. Can't wait to see you again. Alex." Daniel's world crumbled. The messages confirmed his worst fears. Sophia had been seeing Alex Gray behind his back. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. His mind raced with thoughts of betrayal and heartbreak. He needed to confront her, but he also needed time to process what he had just discovered. He spent the rest of the night on the couch, staring blankly at the ceiling. The love of his life had been unfaithful, and he had no idea how to move forward. The wedding plans, the future they had envisioned together, everything seemed meaningless now. The next morning, Daniel decided he couldn't keep this to himself any longer. He needed to confront Sophia and get the truth out in the open. He waited until she was awake and then asked her to sit down. "Sophia, we need to talk," he began, his voice trembling. "I know about you and Alex." Sophia's face went pale. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Tears welled up in her eyes. "Daniel, I'm so sorry," she finally whispered. "It was a mistake. I never meant to hurt you." "A mistake?" Daniel echoed, his anger boiling over. "You've been seeing him behind my back. How long has this been going on?" Sophia broke down, sobbing. "It happened a few times. I don't know why. I was just drawn to him. I'm so sorry, Daniel." Daniel stood up, his hands clenched into fists. "I can't believe you did this to us, to everything we've built together. The wedding is off. We're done, Sophia." With those words, he walked out of the apartment, slamming the door behind him. The life he had envisioned with Sophia was shattered, and he had no idea what the future held. All he knew was that he needed to get away, to clear his mind, and figure out his next steps. As he drove through the streets of Austin, Daniel felt a mix of rage and despair. The betrayal cut deep, but he was determined to find a way to move forward. He wasn't sure how, but he knew he couldn't let this define him. He had to find a way to heal and rebuild his life, even if it meant starting from scratch. In the days following his discovery of Sophia's infidelity, Daniel's world was a whirlwind of confusion and heartache. He tried to focus on his music, but every note he played seemed to echo the betrayal he felt. The band, unaware of his personal turmoil, continued rehearsing for their next gig, and Daniel did his best to keep up the facade of normalcy. Daniel's mind kept replaying the moment he read those damning texts on Sophia's phone. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her with Alex Gray, the arrogant drummer who had not only charmed her but also shattered Daniel's trust. He knew he couldn't keep this bottled up. He needed to confront both Sophia and Alex, to get the answers and closure he deserved. One evening, after a particularly grueling rehearsal, Daniel decided it was time to confront Sophia head-on. He found her in the living room, scrolling through her phone. The sight of her acting so nonchalantly while his heart was in pieces infuriated him. "Sophia, we need to talk," he said, his voice barely masking his anger. She looked up, surprised by the sternness in his tone. "What's wrong, Daniel?" He took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. "I know about you and Alex. I saw the messages." Sophia's face drained of color. She opened her mouth to speak but hesitated, as if searching for the right words. "Daniel, I don't," he cut her off. "I want the truth. How long has this been going on?" Tears welled up in her eyes as she realized there was no escaping the confrontation. "It started a few months ago. It was never supposed to happen. I never wanted to hurt you." "A few months?" Daniel's voice rose with incredulity. "We're supposed to get married, Sophia. How could you do this to us?" "I don't know," she sobbed. I was just drawn to him. It was a mistake, Daniel. I regret it so much." Daniel felt a mix of anger and sorrow. He had loved Sophia deeply, and now he felt utterly betrayed. "The wedding is off," he said with finality. "We're done, Sophia." He turned and walked away, leaving her crying on the couch. As he stepped outside, the cool night air hit his face, but it did little to calm the storm inside him. He needed answers from Alex, the man who had helped ruin everything. Determined to face Alex, Daniel made his way to the hotel where Ravaged Crew was staying. The band was in town for another gig, and Daniel knew this was his chance. His heart pounded as he approached the hotel, each step fueled by a mix of rage and desperation. Inside the hotel lobby, he asked the receptionist for Alex Gray's room number, explaining he was a fellow musician and had urgent business. The receptionist, recognizing him as a member of Starhawk, obliged and gave him the room number. Standing outside Alex's door, Daniel took a moment to compose himself. He knocked firmly, and after a few moments, the door opened to reveal Alex, looking slightly surprised. "Daniel, right?" Alex said, recognizing him. "What brings you here?" Daniel clenched his fists, struggling to keep his composure. "We need to talk. About Sophia." Alex's expression shifted from surprise to a smirk. "Ah, I see. Look, man, it was nothing personal. Just having some fun." "Fun?" Daniel's voice was cold with anger. "You call ruining my relationship fun?" Alex shrugged, unfazed. "Women are drawn to me. It's not my fault your fiancé couldn't resist." The sheer arrogance in Alex's tone pushed Daniel over the edge. He grabbed Alex by the collar, shoving him against the wall. "You think this is a joke? You destroyed everything." Alex's smirk disappeared, replaced by a look of annoyance. "Get your hands off me, Daniel." Realizing he was losing control, Daniel released his grip and stepped back. "Stay away from Sophia. If I see you near her again, you'll regret it." Alex adjusted his collar, glaring at Daniel. "Message received. Now get out of here before I call security." Without another word, Daniel turned and walked away, the encounter leaving him even more unsettled. Confronting Alex had done little to ease his pain. The betrayal still hung heavily over him, and he knew he needed to find a way to move forward. Back at the apartment, Daniel packed a few essentials. He couldn't stay there, not with the memories of Sophia and the life they had planned together haunting every corner. He needed space to think, to figure out his next steps. He called his best friend and bandmate, Tom. "Hey, Tom, I need a place to crash for a while. Can I stay at your place?" "Of course, man. What's going on?" Tom asked, concern evident in his voice. "I'll explain when I get there," Daniel replied, not wanting to get into details over the phone. At Tom's apartment, Daniel finally let down his guard. He recounted everything that had happened, from discovering the texts to confronting both Sophia and Alex. Tom listened, offering support and sympathy. "Man, I'm so sorry you're going through this," Tom said. "You deserve better than this." "Thanks, Tom. I don't know what to do now. The wedding is off, and everything feels like it's falling apart." "You'll get through this," Tom assured him. "You're one of the strongest people I know. Take some time, focus on the music, and let yourself heal." Over the next few weeks, Daniel threw himself into his music. It became his refuge, a way to channel his pain and anger into something productive. The band was supportive, rallying around him and helping him stay focused. Despite the turmoil in his personal life, Daniel began to see a glimmer of hope. He realized that while Sophia's betrayal had shattered his trust, it hadn't broken his spirit. He was determined to rebuild his life, to find a way to move forward without her. One evening, while practicing with the band, Tom approached him with an idea. "Hey, I've been thinking. Why don't we go on tour? It could be just what you need to get your mind off things." Daniel considered it. A tour would be a chance to escape, to start fresh and focus on his passion for music. "You know what? That's a great idea. Let's do it." As they began planning the tour, Daniel felt a renewed sense of purpose. He was ready to leave the past behind and embrace whatever the future held. Sophia and Alex were now part of a painful chapter in his life, but they didn't define him. He was determined to write a new story, one where he emerged stronger and wiser. In the weeks following his confrontation with Sophia and Alex, Daniel's life continued to be a whirlwind of emotions. He had moved in with Tom, who had been incredibly supportive during this difficult time. The rest of the band was also there for him, offering encouragement and distraction through their music. The decision to go on tour was a turning point for Daniel. It gave him something to focus on, a goal that could help him heal and move forward. As they planned the tour, the excitement began to build. They booked gigs in various cities across the country, aiming to bring their music to new audiences and gain more exposure. However, the pain of betrayal was still fresh. Daniel often found himself lying awake at night, replaying the events in his mind. He struggled with feelings of anger and sadness, but he knew he had to keep moving forward. He couldn't let this setback define him. Preparing for the tour was a welcome distraction. The band spent countless hours rehearsing, perfecting their setlist, and making sure everything was ready for the road. Daniel poured all his energy into the music, finding solace in the melodies and rhythms. One afternoon, as they practiced in Tom's garage, Daniel received an unexpected call. It was Sophia. "Daniel, please, can we talk?" Her voice was shaky, filled with desperation. He hesitated, his heart pounding. "What is there to talk about, Sophia? You made your choice. I know, and I'm so sorry. I've been a mess since you left. Please, I need to see you." Daniel took a deep breath. "I'm not sure that's a good idea. I need space to move on. Just one conversation, please," she pleaded. "I owe you an explanation." Reluctantly, Daniel agreed to meet her the next day at a coffee shop they used to frequent. He wasn't sure what he hoped to gain from this conversation, but he knew he needed closure. The next day, Daniel arrived at the coffee shop early. He chose a table in the corner, away from prying eyes. As he waited, he felt a mix of emotions, anger, sadness, and a sliver of hope that maybe, just maybe, Sophia had a good explanation. Sophia walked in a few minutes later, looking tired and distraught. She spotted Daniel and made her way to the table, her eyes red from crying. "Hi, Daniel," she said softly, sitting down. "Hi," he replied, trying to keep his tone neutral. "Thank you for meeting me," she began, her voice trembling. "I know I hurt you, and I can't tell you how sorry I am. I made a terrible mistake." Daniel looked at her, waiting for her to continue. "Why, Sophia, why did you do it?" She wiped a tear from her cheek. "I don't have a good excuse. I was selfish and stupid. Alex was charming and persistent, and I let myself be swayed. But I never stopped loving you, Daniel. I know that sounds hollow now, but it's true." Daniel felt a pang of sadness. "Loving me didn't stop you from betraying me. I know, she whispered. I've been trying to understand why I did it. Maybe it was the pressure of the wedding, the fear of commitment. I don't know, but I regret it every single day. He sighed, feeling the weight of her words. I appreciate your apology, Sophia. But it doesn't change what happened. The trust is broken. I understand, she said, tears streaming down her face. I just needed you to know how sorry I am. I hope someday you can forgive me. Daniel nodded. I'll try, but I need to move on. We both do. With that, he stood up, leaving Sophia sitting alone at the table. As he walked out of the coffee shop, he felt a sense of closure. The conversation hadn't fixed everything, but it had given him the clarity he needed to start healing. The day finally arrived for Starhawk to hit the road. Their first stop was in Dallas, Texas, a city known for its vibrant music scene. Daniel was both nervous and excited as they loaded their equipment into the van. This tour was a new beginning, a chance to leave the past behind and focus on the future. As they drove to Dallas, the band members chatted about their hopes for the tour. Daniel found himself laughing and joking with his friends, feeling lighter than he had in weeks. The open road stretched out before them, full of possibilities. Their first gig was at a popular local club. The atmosphere was electric, and the crowd was eager to hear them play. As they took the stage, Daniel felt a surge of adrenaline. This was where he belonged, doing what he loved with his best friends by his side. The performance was a success. The audience responded enthusiastically to their music, and Daniel could feel the positive energy flowing through him. For the first time in a long while, he felt truly happy. The tour continued, taking them to cities across the country. Each performance brought new experiences and new fans. Daniel found himself growing more confident and more at peace with each passing day. The pain of Sophia's betrayal still lingered, but it was no longer the center of his world. One night, after a particularly energetic show in Nashville, Daniel found himself talking to a fan backstage. Her name was Emma, and she was the mother of Alex Gray. She had come to see Starhawk perform, curious about the band that had once opened for her son's group. I'm impressed, Daniel, Emma said, smiling warmly. You and your band have a lot of talent. Thank you, Daniel replied, feeling a mixture of emotions. It means a lot, coming from you. Emma looked at him thoughtfully. I know what happened between you, Sophia, and Alex. I'm deeply sorry for the pain my son caused you. Daniel was taken aback by her honesty. Thank you, Emma. It's been a difficult journey, but I'm trying to move forward. I can see that, she said. And you're doing a great job. Keep focusing on your music. It's clear that it's where you belong. They continued talking, and Daniel found himself opening up to her in a way he hadn't expected. Emma's kindness and understanding were a balm to his wounded heart. As the tour progressed, Daniel and Emma kept in touch. Their conversations became a source of comfort and encouragement for Daniel. He began to realize that new beginnings were possible, even after the darkest of times. Months had passed since Daniel had left Sophia and embarked on the tour with Starhawk. The band's journey had been a whirlwind of new cities, enthusiastic crowds, and a growing fan base. Daniel had thrown himself into the music, finding solace and healing in each performance. He had also grown closer to Emma, whose support had become an unexpected source of strength. One morning, after a successful show in Denver, Daniel received an unexpected call. It was Sophia. Daniel, we need to talk. It's important, she said, her voice trembling. What is it, Sophia? Daniel replied, feeling a mix of curiosity and apprehension. I'm pregnant, she blurted out. Daniel's heart skipped a beat. Pregnant? How far along are you? About 4 months, Sophia replied. I'm certain it's yours. We were still together when it happened. Daniel was silent for a moment, trying to process the information. I don't know what to say. I know it's a lot to take in, Sophia said. But we need to figure out what to do. I need your support, Daniel. The news of Sophia's pregnancy left Daniel reeling. He wasn't sure what to believe. The timing was suspicious, given her affair with Alex, and he couldn't shake the doubt that the baby might not be his. After the call, he confided in Tom, who had been his rock throughout this ordeal. What do you think, Tom? Could the baby really be mine? Tom frowned, considering the situation. It's hard to say, man. The timing does seem off, but you were still together back then. There's a chance it could be yours. Daniel sighed, feeling overwhelmed. I just don't know what to do. I can't trust her after what she did. You need to get a paternity test, Tom suggested. That's the only way to be sure. Daniel nodded, knowing that Tom was right. He called Sophia back and insisted on a paternity test once the baby was born. Sophia agreed, albeit reluctantly. A week later, Daniel received another unexpected call, this time from James Anderson, Sophia's father. He was an influential businessman with a reputation for getting what he wanted, and Daniel was wary of what this conversation might entail. Daniel, I understand you've heard about Sophia's pregnancy, James began. We need to talk, face to face. What do you want, James? Daniel asked, his tone guarded. I have a proposition for you, James said. Meet me at my office tomorrow. Curiosity and a sense of obligation drove Daniel to agree. The next day, he walked into the towering office building where James Anderson conducted his business. He was escorted to a luxurious office, where James awaited him. Thank you for coming, Daniel, James said, motioning for him to sit. I'll get straight to the point. I want you to accept paternity of this child, regardless of the test results. Daniel's eyes widened in shock. Why would I do that? Because it's in everyone's best interest, James replied calmly. Sophia's reputation, our family's reputation, and your future. I'm prepared to offer you a significant sum of money, a stable job, and a house. All you have to do is agree to raise the child as your own. Daniel stared at James, incredulous. You're asking me to lie about being the father of a child that might not even be mine? James nodded. Precisely. It's a mutually beneficial arrangement. Think about it, Daniel. This is a chance to secure your future. Daniel's mind raced as he processed James's proposal. The offer was tempting, financial security and a stable future. But the idea of living a lie, of raising a child that might not be his, was too much to bear. I can't do that, James, Daniel said firmly. I won't lie about being the father. The truth will come out eventually. James's expression darkened. Think carefully, Daniel. This is a one-time offer. I have made my decision, Daniel replied. I won't be part of your cover-up. James's demeanor shifted to one of cold fury. You'll regret this, he said, his voice low and menacing. As Daniel left the office, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had just made a powerful enemy. He knew that James wouldn't take his refusal lightly. Daniel's refusal to cooperate with James's plan had immediate consequences. A few days later, as he was leaving a gig in Seattle, he was ambushed by two men. They dragged him into an alley and beat him mercilessly, leaving him bruised and bleeding. Consider this a warning, one of the men snarled before they left him lying on the ground. Daniel managed to get to his feet and stagger back to the venue, where Tom and the rest of the band were waiting. They were horrified when they saw his condition and immediately called for help. At the hospital, Daniel recounted what had happened. It was a warning from James Anderson, he said, wincing from the pain. Tom clenched his fists in anger. That bastard. We need to report this to the police. Daniel nodded. We will, but I doubt it will stop him. As he recovered from the assault, Daniel found unexpected support from Emma. She had heard about what happened and reached out to him, offering her sympathy and assistance. I'm so sorry, Daniel, Emma said, her voice filled with concern. No one should have to go through this. Thank you, Emma, Daniel replied, grateful for her kindness. Your support means a lot to me. Emma's presence became a source of comfort for Daniel. She visited him regularly, bringing him meals and keeping him company during his recovery. Their bond grew stronger, and Daniel found himself opening up to her in ways he hadn't with anyone else. One evening, as they sat together in his apartment, Emma broached the subject of the baby. Daniel, what are you going to do about Sophia and the child? I honestly don't know, Daniel admitted. I'm waiting for the paternity test, but if the baby isn't mine, I don't know if I can be involved. Emma nodded understandingly. Whatever you decide, I'll support you. You deserve to be happy, Daniel. Her words touched him deeply. Thank you, Emma. You've been a rock for me. Months passed, and Sophia's due date approached. Daniel tried to focus on the tour and his music, but the looming paternity test weighed heavily on his mind. He knew that the results would determine the course of his future. Finally, the day arrived. Sophia gave birth to a baby boy, and a paternity test was conducted. Daniel waited anxiously for the results, his mind racing with possibilities. When the results came in, Daniel's heart pounded as he opened the envelope. The test confirmed his worst fears: the baby was not his. Relief and sadness washed over him. He was relieved that he wasn't tied to Sophia through a child, but the sadness of what could have been lingered. He had to inform Sophia of the results, and he dreaded the conversation. Daniel met Sophia at the hospital, the paternity test results in hand. She looked exhausted but hopeful as he approached her. "Daniel, is it?" she began, but he shook his head. "The test came back negative, Sophia. The baby isn't mine." Sophia's face crumpled with disappointment and tears. "I'm so sorry, Daniel. I hoped." "I know," he said gently. "But we need to move on. This is for the best." As he left the hospital, he was confronted by James Anderson. The older man's face was a mask of barely concealed rage. "You made your choice, Daniel," James said coldly. "Now you'll face the consequences." "I'm not afraid of you, James," Daniel replied. "You can't control me." James glared at him. "This isn't over." With the paternity test behind him, Daniel felt a sense of closure. He could finally move forward without the weight of Sophia's betrayal and the uncertainty of the child. His relationship with Emma continued to deepen, and he found himself envisioning a future with her. One evening, as they sat on the porch of Emma's house, Daniel took her hand. "Emma, I want to thank you for everything. You've been my anchor through all of this." "You don't need to thank me, Daniel," Emma replied, smiling warmly. "I care about you, and I'm here for you." Daniel looked into her eyes, feeling a sense of peace he hadn't felt in a long time. "I want us to build a future together, Emma. Will you be with me?" Emma's eyes filled with tears of happiness. "Yes, Daniel, I'd love that." As they embraced, Daniel felt a renewed sense of hope. He had faced the darkest moments of his life and come out stronger. With Emma by his side, he was ready to embrace whatever the future held. As Daniel's journey comes to a close, he emerges stronger and wiser from the ashes of his shattered dreams. The tour with Starhawk becomes not just an escape, but a path to healing and self-discovery. With each city, each performance, he finds a little more of himself, shedding the pain of betrayal. His bond with Emma deepens, offering him a chance at true, unwavering love. In the end, Daniel learns that life's trials can lead to unexpected blessings. Despite the heartbreak and challenges, he finds peace and hope in the music he loves and the support of those who truly care for him. Betrayed Love, the heartbreaking journey of a cheating wife and a musician's redemption, is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of moving forward. Join us in celebrating Daniel's triumphant return to joy, as he turns a page to a new chapter filled with promise and possibilities. Thank you for being part of this emotional and inspiring journey.